What if you could change the world? Today on It's Better Together with Revel Coach Allison Samuels, we're going to speak with Allison, who is the founder of Two Tree Studios, as well as the Level Up Project, about her work because it is really, the more we get to know her work, the more we're so impressed with what she's doing. And there's a lot for us to uncover. So we're going to start off with saying, Allison, welcome to It's Better Together.
Hello, thank you for
We're,
having me.
we're so glad you're here. And we'd love to start the conversation with learning a little bit more about the Level Up Project. We understand it's a network of individuals who have like decision-making power as solo creators and entrepreneurs and members of a larger organization. But if you could share a little bit of like the journey of what the Level Up Project is all about and how you got it started.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Um, so the Level Up project, I shorthand it to Tulip a lot of the time, is an initiative that I officially began last spring, summer, and we launched in September of 2020, and has since been an ongoing virtual and IRL project. It's been on my mind for many years, which is how it was like able to be launched so quickly. The goal with the project is to make space for accessible education, knowledge sharing, and network building within the fields of craft and design most specifically. We are all committed to removing systemic accessibility barriers to, and as you said, shifting power dynamics within the fields of craft and design. We are acknowledging that these fields are often exclusive, cost prohibitive, and require a certain baseline skill level, social network, and resources for entry. So that being well networked and having the financial wealth should not be preconditions to enter the field and thrive. So this is about like sharing knowledge and skill. I started this project because I am a woodworker, designer, started with very little network, money, access, like I was not technically trained at all. I am a cis white person and I come from a middle class family. Hello, mom and dad. And who are both artists and entrepreneurs. And even I had a really hard time learning how to get a business started, how to build my own knowledge and like skill level and like enter the fields that I wanted to. And I could not help but think how many other people have even way fewer resources or like even an inkling that this is a possibility to do with their lives. And I was like, how can I participate in like making some kind of subtle shifts within the industry? And this was a thing that has been kicking around for a while. I'm happy to like
Allison,
more later, but that's, yeah.
so you talk about the idea of, so you're blending entrepreneurship with artistry, which is amazing. And that's exactly what an entrepreneur is. It's somebody who takes passion and then they take it and they make it into a business where they can afford the things they want to do. So obviously there's two different aspects here. We have our artistry. We have the person who wants to be the artist, and then we have the business skills. So what you've done is you married the two. Is that correct?
That's a very lovely way of putting it. Thank you.
And then how does this work? Like if I wanted to be a sponsor and help people along the way, what would I do? What would my involvement be? And then where is this located? Is it, I mean, you're in New York City, is that correct?
That is correct. I'm in Brooklyn.
And so is this just New York or is it studio space? I mean, I would love to know a lot more.
Great questions. Thank you. Right. Okay. So that was like the theory behind it. Now, what is it actually? Yes. Thank you. So thus far, it has the Level Up. We're talking about the Level Up project still, right? Just confirm. Thank you. The Level Up project has existed in the world in two main ways. We have put on, yes, I'm in Brooklyn. It is a global project at this point and purely virtual. But we have been able to do like some hybrid, like IRL and virtual event. We have put on 2-week-long series of workshops, virtual workshops, that feature a range of disciplines within the fields of craft and design that are from 90 minutes to 3 hours long a piece over the span of a week, taught by different entrepreneurs in those industries, ranging from woodworking to ceramics to text like weaving to text like natural dyeing to culinary arts to butchery to like, you know, lots of things. And composting. And those workshops have been offered within the span of a week. They're all recorded, so like they're now all like publicly available, accessible. They're offered on they're ticketed, offered on a sliding scale, ranging from free to $400 a piece, like per ticket for the exact same thing. We use a redistributive pricing structure in order to ensure every person has equal access to the resources involved in like participating in the event, because we also send physical material packets to every person who requests them, including like the supplies and physical tools needed to like carve a, you know, piece of wood or whatever the thing is that we're doing. And essentially assuming that, and like not asking for any like proof of income, anything, but we do ask, and we have like a guideline that everyone opt in according to their own power, wealth, and privilege. So we ask everyone to consider their intersectional privileges as they decide where on our pricing scale they fall. So we also have, yes, you can like sponsor like a larger event, but we also have opportunities to pay more than your, like pay like double your ticket price, and that will like pay for somebody else's tools or supplies or whatever. One thing that I feel very strongly about is like, this is not charity. This is not a fundraiser. Like, we have collected all of the dollars into one pot and then redistribute them back out in order to make sure that every person across all workshops are adequately resourced. But, and then we give 10% of proceeds from 1 week to an organization that's like doing really rad work that we respect. And then the rest of that money from the week of workshops goes to fund other programming that we can do throughout the year with like we've been working with a local high school in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, currently working with them to develop another program, like a curriculum for the semester. But we've been able to like do other partnerships and are looking to do more like in the world partnerships beyond our week of workshops. We're using that as like a way to fund some other stuff that we're doing. But I do not call this a fundraiser, do not call it charity. Like, you are giving more money because you have the ability to do that. There are reasons why you have more wealth than your neighbor, let's say.
But it's such like an awesome like passion play, because I think when you're recognizing the mission of what you're doing is giving accessibility to arts, no matter what, you would be just bought into that vision. So I love how you do the pricing, and, you know, thought-provoking pricing is just, you know, what do you think the worth of this is? So that's kind of amazing in itself. And are you finding the people that are just signing up for this, like what level of skills do they have? Are they learning like a new artistry, or are they kind of entry level? Like what skills do they have?
That's such a great question. And that's been part of our struggle in like defining for ourselves and also to the public, like, who is this project for? Short answer is for anybody. And you can opt in at different skill levels. So we've found that we have like tagged workshops with like the kind of skill level that you're expected to have to participate, to like get the most out of it. But most of the workshops that we've offered thus far have been entry level. That said, and so most people who have participated are either like new to the industries themselves, or like wanting to start their own business, or already have their own business like within this discipline. One of the benefits to like doing this, taking a workshop with us, is that the people teaching are like really legit. They're like really good at what they do, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they don't often teach workshops. And there are people like the last round of workshops that we did in April, we had folks register from 33 countries around the world. And a lot of, and like about half of them, or 2/3 of them were like participating live. And then the rest were like getting their recordings, you know, like at whatever time of day they could. So it's been a great way to like learn from your peers. And like, yeah, so a lot of folks who participated, let's say in the wood carving workshop, are like very skilled woodworkers, relearning or learning again or brushing up on their like super sharp chisel techniques, or like getting your chisel really sharp, or like asking all the questions you thought were like too dumb to ask in another setting. But it's like a feminist approach to teaching, or at least like that's what Danielle was wanting to do. So she was able to like make a decidedly inclusive like learning environment. And then there were also people who had like never touched a chisel before in their lives and got sent like a whole packet and could pick it up and learn what to do. So it's a range.
You've said so many things that are just like amazing, but the one thing I really picked up on as an entrepreneur myself is you had people from 33 different countries. So let's talk about how this marketing network happened. So you started in 2020, the Level Up program began, and now here we have over 33 countries. So you reached out to people who reached out to people. And how did this work? I mean, was it all organic?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had more insight into how that actually worked. But I guess the power of the internet, right? And right, I mean, this is kind of one of the points, one of the points of this project, is like networks are real. You know, we all think that we're special butterflies and like making really cool shit, and could, you know, like if only we found the right, I don't know, place to sell it or whatever, then like we would be fine. But that's actually not how it works, or at least like that's not my experience. You need like a multi-tiered approach to like being in business, and I think a lot of that, at least for me, I've learned is like, who do you know, and like what are the relationships that you can like keep juggling, and so the people who I have like asked to participate as instructors, as like peer instructors for this project, are people that I have just like gotten to know over the years of being in business, and mostly through the internet or through like in-person events, who also have their networks. And yeah, it's just like a, let's like cross, not breed, what's the word?
Promotional.
Yeah. Oh, it's
keep breeding with each other.
Well, that too, as you're doing your artwork. So I would love to ask you, just looking at a couple of your workshops. So you have paper craft fundamentals, you have hand building a pedestal bowl. These look so cool. Sharpen a carving gauge and texturing wood, additions to clay, whole chicken butchery techniques. Oh my gosh, that's really cool. Cooking techniques. So those are just a few. Which is your favorite so far? Do you have a workshop that you weren't teaching, you were like the attendee? Do you have one that you love? And I know you have to say you love them all. Do you have a recent one that you like?
I will not participate in the trick question there.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. It didn't mean to be trick, and then I realized it.
They're all really great. One that I haven't specifically mentioned is the paper crafts workshop. Zai Zai is another one of those artists and creators who I've known from like very early days on the internet. And she's half white and half Indian and has a really large international following on Instagram, and is based in San Francisco at the moment. And working with her for this was like a huge part of like our international reach. I mean, a few of the other workshop leads also have like international reach. But working with her was really interesting because like speaking to like the differences in access and in like how we're thinking about like using the pool of resources to like distribute to people. So she has like a pretty solid network of like US based, California based, largely affluent and largely white and Indian and Middle Eastern like people, also in that she has like tech worlds like connections, so like very affluent. Those people purchased tickets for like a lot of money for her workshops, right? And then she also marketed to her like Instagram following, which is largely like younger, based in India, and with like far less dollars to spend on a workshop like this. She had a lot of people participate in her workshop, and a lot of the like US based folks ended up like funding a lot of the other like physical material packets for her followers in India, who were like shocked to receive like paper craft supplies and like blades and rulers and like a little cutting board and like not cutting board, cutting mat in the mail from her, and like logged on live for this workshop that she taught, right? So that was like a really, and they, you know, like reached out to all of us being like, I didn't think this was gonna happen. Like I've always wanted to take a workshop with Zai. I didn't think I would ever like be able to afford it or ever be able to like find the time or like whatever. So it was a really cool way and very clear to see how a program like this could actually like serve people in the real world, and how like this idea of redistribution works in real time.
That is a beautiful story.
I was going to use the same word, beautiful, by the way. It's incredible. I was about to ask how you got supplies to people in all the different countries, but obviously there was enough lead time that you could mail them.
That was like a scheduling trick. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. I bet. So you go out there and you say, all right, we need these many supplies. Do you order them online? Do you go to a store? How did you get everything?
So, right. So this is like a organizational challenge, to say the least. Hello, Mom.
Yeah. Insert expert mother, organizational specialist.
Yes. Yeah, so like to put on a week of workshops across like 10 to 12 disciplines with 10 to 12 different people around the country leading them in different time zones, like all the whatever, required 5 months of planning, 4 to 5 months of planning. The first week of workshops we put on, we launched in September. It was, I think, 4 months of like prep, and it was me and Tass, our graphic designer, Nabila, like helping with some of the logistical, operational stuff, and like that was like it. And then the workshop leads were like all my very close friends who were like on board to like kind of be whipped around a little bit, everybody, and like work building the ship as we go. The second time there ended up being a team of a dozen of us at the height, like making it work on the back end, and then like 10 workshop leads. And this time we were able to like put out schedule. We had like orientations, you know, like little like meet and greets, a lot of like, you know, PowerPoints describing like exactly how to market your stuff, exactly like when you need to be like shipping, when you need to be ending, like when all of the deadlines were. So it's like pretty well like structured this time because we had something to expect. In terms of like ordering and getting supplies, there were like protocols for this is like, these are the kinds of, well, everybody was responsible for doing that on their own, and like creating their own packets, mailing them out. But like we provided a lot of hand holding and like a lot of support for like exactly what would be entailed. A lot of that is design, like also about designing your workshop. Again, they were like 90 minutes to 3 hours long, and like you're using like every minute of it, right? So again, like a lot of meetings, a lot of PowerPoints, a lot of like, this is actually like exactly what we think will work in order to relay this information to like a group of people on the internet who you've never met before.
I am so impressed. So the next step, so here we have this idea, and then we give it a go and it works. And what you discovered is that you really needed to step up. You couldn't just be an artist and an entrepreneur, but you had to be a leader. And those leadership skills that you have been now honing and figuring out along the way with, I'm sure, a lot of mentorships. And so how do you take those, so you start with those skills that you had, which was just a desire in the beginning, but now you've crafted them into leadership. So what would be your biggest leadership lesson for somebody that's coming on board to be an assistant with you, or just to be another workshop leader?
Whoa, nobody's ever asked me that before. Oh gosh. I mean, I think I need to caveat by saying like, which I was about to caveat at the end and then I forgot to. Some workshops like flowed better than others, right? And this whole thing has been a giant learning curve for me personally, and like for everybody involved. And yeah, so anyway, and I think there have been a lot of challenges, a lot of fails, like a lot of like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this anxiety that I'm feeling right now? How many hours in the day can there possibly be to like get all these things done? Which I'm sure all of you know very well. One of the biggest things that I have been learning is that like this shit is not possible to do alone. So in order to like have any kind of like impact, however small, that is like potential, like I know that is not going to happen if it's just like me working. Like there are truly not enough hours in the day, but also like it's not as meaningful. So asking for help, and then also like working with people who you really trust and are like building trust with. I think a challenge is building trust as you build the system is like hard.
Those are such great fundamentals. I mean, you're tackling not a very simple problem. Like this has been an age-old problem with art accessibility and having the tools. And I mean, there's just so much depth to it. And then when you start going into how you go about doing it logistically, I mean, it is, your vision's so clear. But there's a lot of, it's easy to see, the complexities of doing it. So congratulations so much on, I mean, something like this is amazing. So can we ask a little bit more? So the studio that you're in is, I'm assuming, your art lab or your art room. Can you tell us a little more about your work, your personal work?
Yeah. Yes, this is my studio. It is I have like the room to myself, and then there's a shop like right outside there that is shared space with the bigger machinery, and I rent like access to this space. I make furniture and design furniture, and also small home goods. Like I make a lot of vases and sculptural objects And more recently, I have been producing some like pure art sculptures, all out of wood.
It's awesome. And when did you start? Like, when was the moment you knew art was in your kind of in your genes, in your destiny?
Well, I think I said earlier, but both of my parents went to art school, and have been not working artists, but like I have seen art making in the home and have been like doing it myself from like a very young age. So I think the idea of like uh, incorporating creativity and like making in my life has always been sort of a given, because also I'm like instinctively drawn to like working with my hands, and both of my parents encouraged that output, I guess.
Your studio is Two Tree Studio, which I think is such a beautiful name, and it's representative of the work you do, which is woodworking. Woodworking is not a traditionally feminine art craft. So what was the idea? I'm going to work with wood and I'm going to do all this big carving. I mean, you make tables. I've seen the pictures. They're absolutely gorgeous. Bookshelves. These are not small and little pretty things. These are big statement pieces. So wood, how'd you get into wood?
Thank you. And pretty randomly, I mean, my dad was trained as a woodworker. I would say woodworker by trade. I don't know if you want to jump in. Okay, kind of nodding. And so like also like this was not a thing that I ever like thought was in my personal future, but again, something that I've like seen around, like I knew it was a possibility. I went to art school. I have a degree in fibers and gender studies, and super functional skills there. And when I got out of school, I felt like I wanted to, like after working in a hand-painted textile design studio for a little bit, I was feeling like I wasn't making anything like functional or useful. And I was not really happy with the wealthy client base that these goods were like going for or like being sold to. And so I decided that I was interested in learning a more like productive or like useful trade, and I started looking for like building jobs. I started thinking that I was interested in landscape architecture, had no idea really what that was, but I thought that I was interested in it. I still am. But instead of like going back to school, which felt like definitely not going to happen, too much money, too much time, didn't want to like just pay more for another degree that maybe I wouldn't use again. I decided that I wanted to start learning how to make things before I learned how to like draw them, and then only be on a computer for the rest of my life. So I found a cabinetry job on Craigslist, and it happened to be in a really nice shop in Brooklyn. I had no idea that it was a high-end cabinetry shop at the time, but I started as a finisher's assistant there, and just like, sanding things all day, every day, and then just like worked my way up to learning how to assist and then build cabinets there. And yeah, and I was freelancing as a cabinet maker for a bunch of different shops while I was also working at that space, and also was lucky enough that my boss at the time allowed me to use his shop weekends and evenings after work to like glue together scraps of wood that I found in the shop, and was making like cutting boards and spoons, started doing like local small craft shows some weekends, and started like an Instagram account and started, like building a little business out of my old Boston shop. And then it just like kept on, progressing until I lowered my hours, ended up eventually going full-time for myself. But it happened pretty naturally. And I am once again building things for very wealthy people.
Well, Allison Samuels, thank you so much for joining us on It's Better Together with Revel Coach, and today, Allison Samuels. So we are so glad you're here. I am so glad to share your story with our audience. The Level Up Project, how can people get in touch with that? And how can they find you on with Two Tree Studios? I was going to say YouTube Studios.
It's really a mouthful. The Level Up Project, should I drop it in the chat or that won't work for Facebook Live? Cool. It is thelevelupproject.org, and my business is 2 Tree Studios with an S at the end.com.
Fantastic. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to subscribe and like us, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, find us on the web with Revel Coach, and learn a lot more about what we do and who we serve. On behalf of my sister, Marcy Stout, Allison Nissen, Allison Samuels, thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Bye.